Welcome back to the podcast. It's Nina with Passion Squared, and I have a very, very special guest to share with you today. Ira Pope Sage is a human being that I have known and loved for over a couple decades.
It's crazy.
He is an awesome hairdresser, award winning hairdresser and educator, and someone who has inspired many generations of hairdressers. Ira, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Nina. I appreciate you having me here.
It's
Nice
so
job with your podcast. I love listening to it.
it's so cool. It's so cool. All right, let's get into it. I have so many questions and so many things that I want to talk about. But let's kind of begin at the beginning. What inspired you to get into hairdressing?
Um, I guess at the first, I was always in love with shape, and then I would go to a hairdresser girl and have her do my haircut. And back then, it was more into the white kid skater look, and that was like a long emo bangs with spiky on the part, and they never quite get it the way I wanted it. And but then they'd ask if I liked it, and I'd smile and nod and say, "Yes, thank you, pretty girl." And then go home and cut it into it myself. And then by the third time of that happening, I decided I might as well start cutting my hair myself. And then my taste moved from more white skater kid into more basically my grandfather I was always told was black Ethiopian. So I went into what I felt more my roots. I went into the more black shapes and ethnic looks with Bobby Brown Gumby haircuts and Johnny Gill bi-levels and shaving things in my head like my football helmet with numbers in it or the jump sign of the Jordan symbol. My friends didn't believe I did it myself, so I started cutting my friends' hair by 14. And then the salon owner, Jeff Hall, was a salon owner in the town I grew up in Greenville, Michigan. And he saw me my sophomore year of high school at a gas station with my girlfriend Shannon at the time and said that he liked my haircut and he liked the haircuts I did on my friends. And then he asked me if I was going to become a hairdresser. And at that point, really just girls and sports were the only thing that were in my mind. And I actually wanted to be a lawyer at that time. But he told me what school to go to if I decided to become a hairdresser. And then going into my senior year, I had to decide um, if I was going to attempt to be a lawyer, I was going to have to run cross country to get a scholarship. My parents were factory workers and couldn't afford law school or college. So then I decided I had to man up. And fortunately, cross country practice started 2 weeks before football practice started, which honestly, all I wanted to do was play football and have fun with my friends. But manned up, did the cross country thing for the first 2 weeks. And then football practice started 2 weeks later. I gave my buddy a ride home from the first day of football practice, and at a stoplight, I turned and I saw this house that had it was a beautiful house with two beautiful cars parked outside of it and a boat. And I was like, wow, look at that place. It's beautiful. Randomly, he knew whose house it was. And he says, oh, that's Jeff Hall's house. And I'm like, wait, Jeff Hall, the hairdresser? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh shit, screw being a lawyer. I'm gonna be a hairdresser, have fun for the rest of my life, and get to play football with my friends now. So that's really what inspired
Wow.
me all around. Yeah.
I
Yep.
have never heard that story.
And the freedoms of it all too. Like growing up in Michigan, I had always assumed that I was gonna become a parent. And since my parents were factory workers and they worked the night shift, they were never able to come to any of my events. They were never able to come to any of my events. And also, like when we would after the event and they go to the McDonald's, like I couldn't do the McDonald's because we didn't have money. All of those kind of things made it to where I wanted to have a job where I was financially able, and also able on the time to adjust my schedule to be able to watch my children grow and do their sports and all that, not knowing that I was going to grow up and then decide to never want to have kids. But So that was another reason that really inspired me into that aspect of becoming a hairdresser.
That is so cool. So, when did you start to kind of feel the pull towards becoming an educator?
I was very fortunate. I got a little taste whilst I was in school. Since this was 1994, hairdressers really didn't use clippers a whole lot. And I had already at that point, let's see, I was 18. So I had already had like 5 years of using clippers. So I was very comfortable with doing fades and flat tops and all those kind of things. So I actually, whilst I was in school, did a class for my instructors.
Mm.
So it was a very great, and that feeling of being able to be able to share something and be able to see a light go off in someone's brain, that was an immediate like taste that I really liked and a feeling that I really liked. And then my first mentor, Philip Anthony, was an educator for Redken, and I got to travel with him for a show. And after going to a hair show, I was definitely hooked, and knew immediately that this is what I have to do.
That's so interesting because I my second month of beauty school, we took a bus from Virginia to New York to
Hmm.
go to the New York IBS show. And
Awesome.
I mean, this was second month of beauty school, so I didn't know anything about anything, right?
Uh-huh.
And I walked into the Jacob Javits Convention Center and saw this big stage with these really cool people on
Hmm.
it. And that was it for me. Like that was it.
Yep.
The minute. So I love like that you said that when you experience that hair show, that I never left that. I never left. Like I was alone the whole day, standing
Hmm.
there, like, this is
Yep.
cool. I want to, whatever you're doing, that's what I want to do.
Yep. Yep. I'm all goosebumped up as you say that right now because it is just such a energy that is a very special energy, and it's a very special group of humans. That yeah, I knew I felt like I fit in with that finally. Even though I was very fortunate to be like a well accepted kid in the school and everything like that, definitely hairdressers were the first ones that really definitely felt like these are my people
Yeah.
overall.
When you first started out, like the first, whatever few years or whatever, your style has always been unique and different. Your style of cutting, not only your style as a human, but your
Thank you.
approach to hair cutting and sometimes seen as, non-traditional can make people uncomfortable.
Very much so.
How did you walk through that? Were you ever challenged by anyone from your approach, your technique? I kind of know the answer to that.
So I think overall I wasn't as challenged on my technique as I was challenged on my position. And
mm,
what I mean by that is I came into Paul Mitchell in 1999. And in the summer of 1999, or maybe into the beginning of 1999, Robert Cromies became the artistic director for Paul Mitchell. And immediately then, anyone that worked in the Robert Cromies salon was a Paul Mitchell associate. And I let Robert know immediately the reason I joined his salon was I wanted to get as far as I could, as quick as I could. I knew I wasn't guaranteed any day. And I felt that he was the best vehicle to get on to have that journey happen for me. And so he gave me the opportunity, and fortunately, it worked out well for me and him. And then the struggle that I felt was more so from the associates that had been there from Paul Mitchell for plenty of years. And here I was getting the opportunity to do like major shows, and travel with the Robert Cromie Salon team, and they were still bound to their more local events and things.
mm,
So there was definitely a little pushback I felt from them originally. But for me, it was like I fully understood. I understood fully their feelings and their position.
sure.
And but I just knew that I couldn't do anything but to be patient and to continue to be myself and to hope that in time they will soften up to me, I guess, and see that there's a reason why I'm in the position, and see that, the gumption in me to get onto that vehicle in the first place was a thing that of as per why I'm there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I love that. So I just had a flashback when you were talking. I remember, I believe it was your first education video shoot.
Uh-huh.
I
Are you saying Vegas on Vinyl? That one there? Or
uh-huh. Or
yep,
the
yep. The lab
lab.
was the one that I
Yeah,
was actually in. Yes,
yeah,
yes. Vegas
yes,
on Vinyl
lab.
was the first one I was kind of
No,
around.
no,
But yeah,
lab.
lab was the
Yeah,
first one I was in. Yeah.
I remember.
Yep, yep. Me with my blonde mohawk and leather
So
pants.
for context to people listening to this discussion, I was the head of marketing and education at John Paul Mitchell Systems. So one of my responsibilities was organizing all of the collections and all the art stuff. So of course I remember
Yep.
Ira starring in one of our collections. But I the reason that I'm asking that is because there's obviously like education like face to face, and then there's online or video education. What's How do you navigate the differences between teaching live face to face versus like having to do video education or online education?
Um, how I navigate that. I guess I don't know if I guess I do them a little different, but I don't know if I go so different. I'm pretty consistent. Obviously, if I'm face to face, I'm able to, especially in a hands-on situation, if I'm face to face, I can adjust someone and coach someone even more, rather than if I'm Zoom or anything to that manner. Um, Obviously, I personally I think that Zoom classes and all those things can be very beneficial for salons or hairdressers, but there's nothing that can beat an in-person class. The truth, the energy, the just the vibe of it all is just so much more of a healthier learning position, I think, overall. And you get to feel each other, and not physically, but
Mm-hmm.
feel each other's vibes and their energy, all that kind of stuff. And all of that, I think, tends to open the brain up a little bit more to accept other people's thoughts into their brain a little bit more that way. Because that's truly, as an educator, what I'm trying to do is trying
Right.
to share what I've thought and what's worked for me in hopes that they can see what I'm sharing and understand and retain what I'm sharing.
Absolutely. And make it their own, right?
Correct. Yeah,
And
big time.
take action on it.
Yep.
Um going back to just education and going back to that first video shoot, and like how do you navigate nervousness? Do you get nervous? Um
I
like
definitely,
hiccups, mistakes, bumps in the road. How do you work through that?
interestingly enough, nervousness was all kind of like my. So when I first joined Robert, I told Robert that I wanted to do hair shows, and Robert told me that that's awesome. He can help me with that. And he said, the thing is that you just gotta have a story. And he said, it's not a story that you need to tell to people, but you have to have a story that connects to people. And I was a young 23-year-old kid. I didn't know what he meant by that. I just smiled, nodded, and says, "All right, cool, guy, that sounds great." And then we go to basically the very first hair show I got to cut hair on stage for was to go back to the same show that he found me at, the Grand Rapids Melee show. And he told me the night before main stage, if I find a model, I can cut hair on stage. And so the 8 Mile movie had not been out yet, but I'm from Michigan, so I knew I had one chance. And
Uh-huh.
so I made sure to have it. I found a model, and I made sure to be a model that was very open for me to give her something pretty crazy. I had been working on a haircut on one of my clients at the time. She was a fashion designer out of New York. She was a really cool Eastern European woman, and her name was Etty, and she wanted her hair to look like Bessie Johnson. And if anyone knows what Betsy Johnson's hair looks like, it's very choppy. It looks like basically an unblended bad extension job, kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. What a great
Um,
description. Yes.
yeah. So, and I was working. She wanted it to be like Betsy Johnson, and I thought, okay, I've got Tony and Guy training in me. I can certainly make your hair all chunky, and I'll just pick your hair up and slice into it, make it all chunky. And then I did it. We got done with everything. She was fine with it. She came back the next time. She said, I liked your haircut, but I still didn't really see the chunkies. And I'm like, I can definitely feel you on that. And then so like, okay, I'll definitely make it more chunky this time. And as a lot of hairdressers do, we go back to the shampoo bowl and start assessing and figuring out what am I going to do. and I was going through the list of things of that I did last time and things that I need to do this time. And I was like, okay, first thing I did last time is I lifted the hair. And as soon as you lift the hair, it's never going to be chunky when it falls back down its
Right.
normal state.
Because it's
And so, all
softer.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I was like, I need to not lift the hair. So I figured that out, but I still needed to have it be a layer because I need to be able to have all the length, but chunks inside that length. And so then I was like, okay, I'll do a slice up top, I'll bring it down low. And then that also made me realize I needed to see it. So that was actually my very first ever dry haircut. And then, so I did that. It all worked out great. It was all chunky. So I did that haircut on stage for the first time. And here I am cutting solid, chunky lines. And back then, it was Stephanie, Robert, Takashi on the front line, and then Danny, Robert's assistant, and I on the back line. And we would only have the assistants on the back line and the colorist on the front line. Takashi saw that I was cutting hair on the back, so Takashi moved his chair over, slid my chair right up front. So now it's Stephanie, Robert, me, and Takashi for my first ever time doing a haircut, and I'm shaking really, really, really hard. Nervous and fear was very strong in my mind. I had been in stage, performed in front of people singing, but I had always sang someone else's lyrics. So it wasn't quite as vulnerable. It was
Mm.
only my voice, not my written heart. And here I was doing a haircut that no one taught me. So this was true my heart and my vulnerability out there. And it was obviously not a haircut that people were wearing much at that time
No,
either. So
definitely
it's
not.
extremely vulnerable feeling. And I was shaking really hard. And there was the guy, we didn't have stabilizers or things like that for cameras back then. So the guy had the carpet on the bottom of his shoes and he's sliding on the carpet and he's filming up close. And I'm just shaking so hard. And Robert looks over and sees me shaking. And he says, "Oh my gosh, look at him. He's the real Slim Shaky." Mocks me. The mockery made me feel a little bit more comfortable. Of course, the audience laughed a bit. And then Robert, being the genius that he is, he goes through and says to the audience, "Wouldn't any of you, if you were like this young kid at 23, cutting hair in front of 3,500 of you, wouldn't you be shaking just like this kid too?" And just like that, I don't know that the audience felt it, but I felt that made me me. That was the moment that it was like, this is going to be me. I'm the regular guy on stage. I'm not the fancy platform artist guy. I'm the regular guy that got a chance, and I'm going to continue to just be that regular kid from a dirt road in Michigan that got the chance. And so that kind of put me in my position and allowed me to feel comfortable in that. Yet the shakes continued for a good 2 years, and it wasn't until I saw someone else shaking on stage that I then realized, once I saw someone else shaking on stage, it made me feel very uncomfortable for that person shaking. It made me feel uncomfortable for the model. And it just, that discomfort that I felt was like, oh my gosh, I could be making people feel uncomfortable when I'm shaking on stage. So I gained perspective of that. I'm like, okay, I don't want to ever shake again, because I would never want to make people feel uncomfortable in the audience. Um, and then it was when we went to Germany, actually. I focused big time on wearing headphones and listening to music. And whilst because my models didn't speak English much, so while I'm prepping their hair and stuff like that, we didn't get to communicate. So I just had headphones on and I was listening to music. And what I did was I have to listen to hype music. So back then, what I would listen to constantly was, and I would just do it on repeat. I'm that kind of person. I would just play the one song on repeat, and it would be Nelly, "I am number one," no matter, and I would just have to listen and just keep telling myself that I'm number one and I'm number one, just to get my self-esteem up and my confidence up. And that allowed me to become so much that, and feeling and realizing when I watched people on stage, I would never felt anxiety whilst watching people. So I could not have that old school thing, think of the audience naked. That's not my thing, because that's not very respectable to
Same.
people. And I'd have to go through and ask everyone, "Hey, is it all right if I think of you naked?" That's not what I'm going to do.
Right.
So I found that if I simply feel that I'm just a kid in the audience watching me on stage, then I don't need to be anxiety filled. So I would have the mindset that I was just another kid in the audience watching the show happen. And that and music settled my mind. If I ever started to feel a little anxiety heart rate, I'd immediately start singing quietly in my head and start bopping to the song, and then that would take me back to that safe, comfortable place. Basically, it was all about getting me to a comfortable, safe place in my head, and music
I
was
love
that.
that. And
Thank you.
same music for me. I still do it.
Yeah,
I
it's my
still
first
do it.
love.
Is
Yep, my first love, and it just makes me feel so comfortable and happy.
I think back then mine was Jay-Z. I always had
There you go.
Jay-Z just pumping
Love it. Love it.
loud, right?
Yep. Yep.
With the headphones on. That is so I got chills. I almost cried because of course I almost cried.
Oh,
I just remember like watching you, watching you grow these last 25.
thank you. It's been a really fun 25 years for sure.
Oh my gosh. So speaking of that, I'm gonna pivot a little bit to one of my favorite like memories of you was really the moment I met you. And I'll never forget it. And you were assisting. You were assisting
Uh-huh.
in the salon, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And they're in Vegas and I was there and working and um someone said you need to be
I think it
taken
was
care of.
Margaret. Yeah.
Margaret
Yeah.
said you
Yeah.
need Ira. You need the Ira experience. And I'm like, okay, because I was exhausted or
Uh-huh.
whatever. And it was literally to this day one of the best salon experiences I have ever had in my life.
Thank you.
And I want to just ask you, like, what? Because you're still doing hair today. You're still in the salon. You still see
Hmm.
clients. What do you think is really most important when it comes to creating an awesome experience, not just in the salon, but in your educational classes that you do around the country and the world?
I think empathy is the best, most important thing on that. I think having having a genuine, sincere sense of care for other humans, and having empathy for, say, I knew you were exhausted that day, so I was like, sweet. I want to go through and I want to have her be as relaxed as she could possibly be. I want to, and hopefully have create feelings that kind of energize you because it takes you away from the thought of tired,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
and into the feelings of, oh gosh, it's so nice to have another human take care of me like this for a moment, and care for me in general. And so I think that's something that has helped me in my salon career, and I'm pretty sure it's helped me a lot in my career as an educator because of the fact that my level of empathy and patience is I will I would modestly and modestly say I'm one of the most like patient, empathy filled humans
You are. You
that
are.
educate, because of the fact that I knew how hard it was for me to get these understandings, so and I cannot ever forget that and those feelings. So it's one of those things that I remember actually, uh, 2 years back, I was in Washington and I had done my the demo of my class, and then we were going to the hands-on segment,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a girl setting up, and well, everyone was setting up, and there was one girl that was struggling setting up, and I could see that she was struggling a bit, and so I walked over to her and said, hey, is everything okay? And she just says, I just really think that I I shouldn't be here. I'm not ready for this level yet. This is way much too much more than I can handle. I just graduated like 2 weeks ago, so I really don't think I should be here. I shouldn't be here. I'm like, no, no, no. You most definitely ought to be here. You do whatever you need to do. You go outside and relax or whatever you need to do. Once you come in and you're ready to go at this, we'll go ahead and get at things. She went out inside and outside 3 different times. By the third time, she's got mascara on her face all around it. So I'm definitely seeing that she's
Mm-hmm.
having a struggle with things. But by the third time she comes in, I could see that she's starting to look a little bit more confident into things. And so I go over to her. She's like, I think I'm ready. I'm like, all right, cool. So I share everything with her. I replace her to another location in hopes that she felt more comfortable, not as centered kind of feeling.
Mm.
And then about 10 minutes later, she's like, "Oh my gosh, Ira, I think I'm getting this. I really think I'm getting this." And such an awesome feeling. She did a great job with the haircut. She gets done with the haircut. I say, um, "Do me a favor, grab your phone. So I'll send you some of these head sheets." And she goes, "Oh, I don't have my phone with me." I said, "Okay, no worries. Just what's your number, and I'll text you to him." She goes, "I'm not sure if I'm going to have my same phone number anymore because I had to sell my phone to come to your class." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, I sold my phone to come to your class."
Mm,
And I just, the feeling was so intense in me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this commitment for this girl that she made for this class. And then immediately I start thinking, oh my gosh, she was going to leave the class before she was going to properly learn the haircut that she was here to learn. And I start thinking about like all the core memories that that would have been for her had she left, to sell her phone, to commit to herself the way she did, and to commit to the thought of her education and her career, to be willing to sell her phone. I don't think very many of us have that commitment level, to really just say, there goes my phone, I'm going to go to this class.
mm.
And that level that she had was so profound to me, that of course then, I gave her, she received the haircut that she got taught. She received the doll head that she came there with. I of course gave her my doll head. I gave her my $900 scissors, in hopes that that can give her some kind of concrete something more to have of value for herself. Um, and then I find out later that she's on the spectrum of autism. So then I'm like, okay, surprise, surprise, she was having a little bit of the struggles early
Yeah.
on.
Right.
But all of those things to me are just things that I can never not see and
Hmm.
just push by in my brain.
Hmm.
I'm definitely a very sensitive human, and to see someone having a hard time, all I want to do is try to help them out of their hard time, especially if it's a matter of hair and or fear, specifically fear of working on a doll head.
Hmm.
In no way, shape, or form am I belittling her mindset, but gosh, it's a doll head. There's nothing to have fear of. This doll head doesn't have an opinion. This doll head doesn't have feelings. This
Thank
doll head
goodness.
loves, yeah, loves any mistake you can possibly do on them. And your clients are going to love you mistaking on the doll head so that way you don't mistake on them.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it was a very cool experience for me, and just that sense of empathy and
Yeah.
having care for others is a very big thing, I think.
What a beautiful lesson. Powerful
Thank you.
too.
It was definitely powerful to me for sure. It definitely made a very huge impact and made me realize the value that others, number one, put on themselves, which is awesome, but also the value and the responsibility that I have then to to return that value to them,
Huge
to make sure
responsibility.
that I give all I can, and be as, again, full of patience and empathy and sincerity and genuineness to this person, to make sure that they have the best experience that they could possibly have. And fortunately, it's cute. I love that I'm on her green list. I'm on her friends list on, whenever her story comes up.
The close
Uh,
friends.
yes,
I
I'm on the
love
close friends
it.
list now. I love it. We've maintained conversation, and she's a great person. So,
And those moments have lasting impact, right? I mean, you've been talking about people you met before you even entered beauty school, and then, the
mhm,
people that you have, that have helped you along the way. And we do have a responsibility, a huge responsibility
yes, we
to
do.
do everything we can
Yep.
to help people continue on their journey. So thank you for sharing that story.
My pleasure. And you just never know how the littlest statement even
Never.
can change, can be a core memory for someone.
Yeah.
So I'm very big into the whole butterfly effect concept. And yeah, I just only want to create good, healthy butterfly effects out there as much as possible.
I love that. Speaking of that, so, wellness, self-care, getting older, which we're both doing.
Yes, we are.
I think we're doing really well though. I think we're like we're not we're still cool.
I,
Still.
I think so too. I'm
Don't you
hoping
love
that
how I just lumped myself into your coolness?
you're definitely
I
very cool too. You're definitely very cool too. I've always loved your level of cool.
We all know Ira's cool. Now I'm just like I'm writing.
It
Uh,
takes one to know one.
uh, but so thinking so talking about that, do you have any like daily rituals, anything that you do to practice self care and self love and keep yourself grounded? And you're traveling and touring and doing so many things now, in addition to, again, working in the salon and having a family and all of partner and all of that. How do you keep yourself well?
I do regular practices with myself in the sense of it were 2 years ago, or I guess it's coming up to 2 years. It'll be 2 years in July. So a year and a half ago, I was in Hawaii, and I always like if I get to go to a trip, or if I specifically, especially if I leave the country or not leave the, if I leave the, if I go fly somewhere far and go on vacation, I always want to install a new application into my brain. And so when I went there that time, I was already trying before I left to get cold showers in my life. And trying them here in Vegas, I never was able to get comfortable to do it. It was just too hard. My mindset wasn't there. And I had decided I'm going to be in Hawaii for 6 days. So if I do 6 showers, I felt that I could go ahead and get my brain on path and get my brain on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went there. The very first place we were at, it had the double shower. So my girlfriend and I showered together. So I was not going to do a cold shower that time. I respect her and myself way too much for that. And so then the next 5 days we ended up in another villa, and then that had a separate shower. So sweet, here I go. I'm going to do it, and I did 5 days of cold showers there. By the third day of doing the cold showers, I had my system down, and then it was just a matter of working my system out from there. And I got more and more quiet through the showers because at first, funny enough, my girlfriend Missy was there during the first shower, and she heard me just breathing so hard, trying to breathe through and to accept and get past this cold pressure on my body, and breathing aggressively. And then she was there during my, I think, fourth or fifth shower as well. And definitely, I'm still breathing, but nowhere near the aggressive, hard breathing that I was doing on the first day. And so then those 5 days of those cold showers switched my whole mindset. And I came home, and I've been doing cold showers ever since. I've not taken one hot shower in the last year and a half. And It's changed I did it only because I'm very heady. At first, I had heard about and seen, thank you, TikTok. I saw TikTok and heard about obviously our skin being the largest organ on our body, and our skin being very absorbent. And the water in Vegas, I can smell the chemicals in it. It's very strong of chlorine and just chemical smelling. And I'm too heady. I saw TikTok where the guy had two glasses of tap
Oh
water. He
God.
did the solution in both of them and for chemical tests, and showed that they both discolored from the chemicals. And he dipped his finger in one and pulled it out. And just like that, as he pulled it out, the water turned clear. And so his finger that quick absorbed all that chemical. And so I'm too heady. I cannot relax. Like, I just had a conversation with someone yesterday or the day before talking about having a relaxing hot shower. And I'm like, yeah, the thing is, I can't relax in hot
Yeah,
water anymore.
certain things you can't unsee, right?
Yeah, exactly. I can
Yeah.
never unsee that. So I can't
Yeah.
relax in hot water. So I honestly, I look at showers as being like a stimulating power thing now for me. It gives me strength
Mm.
every time I shower because it reminds me the level of strength that I have for myself, and the level of discipline and commitment that I have for myself.
Wow.
And so it makes me like proud of myself, makes me fall in love with myself even more every time I shower. And interestingly enough, it's done something I never would have guessed it do. It's created more belief in myself,
Mm.
because I'm very aware when I tell certain people, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I could never do that. I can't. Nah, I could never do that." And I'm so aware that it's, by them saying that, it's a physical thing. and mental thing. It's more of a mental thing that they can't do it.
Sure.
Obviously, physically,
Yeah, you
any
can.
it's just cold water. It's just
Right.
cold water.
Yep.
And so physically, anyone can do it. It's the mental thing. And so the interesting thing is that about 3 months after doing the cold showers, um, I had I have a lot of plants in my house, and some of them are larger pots. And when I water them in these plastic trays. And these very large plastic trays, when I pick them up off the floor, they're very wobbly and flimsy, and they would tend to spill a little bit of water out along the way, and then spill a little bit of water out, a little more water out along the way. And then when I get to the sink, I'd spill about half of it next to the sink and maybe get the last half of it into the sink. And I was doing that regularly. And after about 3 months of doing the cold showers, I had realized there was a change in my mindset and a change in my perspective towards me. And I saw that the tray was on the ground on the floor, and I told myself in the universe out loud that day, today you're going to pick up this tray with confidence and control. You're going to slow and calmly walk it over to the sink, and you're going to keep 100% of the water in it, and you're going to pour 100% of the water into the sink. And of course, that day that happened. Otherwise, I wouldn't share this.
Right, right.
And ever since then, it's never happened. I've not spilt the water ever since. So and the amount of belief and trust I have in myself from these cold showers is like something I could have never expected.
Mm,
It's so amazing on how much more confidence I have in myself, and just awareness that I can factor is so
I
on the
can.
very front of my brain now, where before all these voices of my childhood of, negative phrases towards myself, and you can't, and you're dumb, or whatever things. And that's the thing, like, even I'm I don't even say those kind of things to myself ever anymore. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I talk to myself now in such a very nice, respectful, calm way, because I talk to myself like a person I love, because I
That's
do
right.
love me now. And so I communicate to myself in a very loving manner. So I don't, I no longer go through and say, you know, even if I make a mistake, I don't go through and say, "Oh, you're so dumb," or "You're so stupid." I don't even take a second of time on that kind of dialogue with myself anymore. And I'm very grateful that cold showers and regular practice of cold showers, walking, grounding, trying to keep my body fit. This last time I was in Hawaii, I did I think we're 7. I was able to get 7 cold or ice baths in. So I installed that application on that trip. So now I do ice baths now as well, or ice plunges. And
Yep.
so, yeah, it's just trying to constantly defeat aging, and or to age as gracefully as possible.
Yeah, sure.
And I think the best way to age gracefully is to do as many young things as possible,
Mm.
to stay young-minded, to stay fit, young-bodied, and to do things that challenge you, to allow you to see what age gives you strength for. Because I
Yeah.
could not have done these things when I was young.
Right.
I didn't have the mindset, I didn't have the strength of brain to do these things while I was young. I know for me, now that I'm older, I've got these senses of wisdom and these senses of control of myself different than I did when I was younger.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. It
My
is
pleasure.
very true how we speak to ourselves, it really is. And a little bit of that comes with self-awareness too. Some people we can't
Big time.
even hear what we're saying to us, right?
Yep.
It's so kind of not, not conscious.
And the great thing,
I lost your audio. Are you
yeah,
there?
sorry, it's
Yeah,
just
that's
showing a
okay.
call. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's only helped my communication with others as well,
Mm,
because
mm,
obviously, if I'm regularly practicing being nice to myself, it's very complicated to be a jerk to others.
100%.
I used to say that when I would go to the Paul Mitchell schools, because of course they are under a do nice or else culture. And I would ask the students, how do you think you be nice or else? And I wouldn't get too many answers really. But I would always share, I think practicing being nice when no one's looking
Yeah,
is the number one best way to be nice or else, because it's very
absolutely.
hard if you're practicing being nice to yourself and practicing uh, being nice when no one's looking. It's hard to all of a sudden be a jerk when there's someone around then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is very true. That is very true. I can't we've been talking for almost an hour. I love this.
Has it been an
Uh
hour already?
yeah, almost.
Oh my gosh, that was quick. I just rambled on then, huh? I'm so
No,
sorry.
it is
Goodness.
beautiful. It's perfect. It's perfect. Do
I'm happy
you
to hear.
have a
Thank you.
favorite quote or a favorite like saying or kind of mantra that you love?
Um, I guess for a quote from someone else's quote, I would say it would be from from what's her name? Eleanor Roosevelt. Practice doing one thing every day that scares you or you're afraid of.
Mm,
I think that's I think that's the best way to grow and to learn yourself a little bit and to hopefully get past your fears. I think if you try to go hard in the paint and go really deep and do like 3 to 5 things in a day that you're afraid of, I don't think that's healthy. I
no.
think that can really disturb a brain.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're able to give yourself the proper time to assess and to go over how that made you feel, comfortable or not, how it made you feel during it, how it made you feel after it, all of those kind of things. And so I think that's such a great saying and a great thing because I think fear's the one of the saddest things to see on people. I was just in Hawaii and we were there and the water was a little bit colder and in the ocean and I watched this guy and he was so afraid of the water and the cold of the water. And he was just standing like ankle deep, and his aunts are like, "Come on, come out here." And he's like, "I'm cool, I'm cool." And his aunts are like, "Get out here, be cooler, come on." And he didn't come out at that point. He came out a little later, and then once he did decide to come out, he's got his shoulders way up to his ears
Mm.
and he's so cold and he's so cold. And then he got to a certain point to where the water was getting like to maybe waist level and he's got his hands up like this and his shoulders up and he's like a little Tyrannosaurus or like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I was just watching him and it's just I respectfully was laughing in his face because I just saw all the fear on him of cold. I'm like, just get past this discomfort of fear. And then once he did get in the water, then he was totally fine. I'm afraid of not looking cool. So
Mm.
I have to make sure that if I'm in public in cold water, I can walk in cool, Fonzie like, and just stand there without being like, I'm cold, I'm so
Right.
cold.
That's
And
funny.
yeah, so I think mindset and fear is such a tough thing that people deal with, and fear can just anchor you down into places that you just don't even belong. Like you don't belong in that fear state. It's not a
Yeah.
good it's not a good hormone to put in your body, all the hormones that come through fear.
Yeah.
And it's not good on our organs. And we got to have strong organs and you got to have a strong mind to have the strong thoughts to have strong organs from the beginning. So yeah, all of that stuff is big to me, I guess.
I love that. And as someone who has a lot of fears, which I do, sometimes that do some one thing that scares you could be literally just getting out of bed that morning.
Completely.
If you're dealing with,
Completely.
grief or depression or anything like that. It is the simple thing. It's the simple things. It's
Hmm.
always comes back to that, right?
Yep. And they add up.
And you were sharing that earlier about like you don't have to do all these things, like it really is one thing. I love that. Ira, you are on tour this year.
I am.
Tell us about where you going, what are you doing, how can we join you?
Thank you, thank you. I'm going all over the place this weekend. I'm out to Tampa, and I'll be at a salon called Favorite Salon in Tampa. I'm very excited for that. It is a public class, and there are actually still tickets available. That You could find that on my link tree on my Instagram. I tend to have everything go through my link tree, um, and yeah, I've got a variety of different things. One of the things that stands out in my head, I'm excited this year to be doing Presley Poe and Friends as well. I've
Mm.
got two classes there I'm doing. Great honor with that. And uh, I don't want to say things too soon into that, but I'm positioned into that in a very complimentive manner. It's very cool being like an older guy kind of in the industry now.
Uh-huh.
And it's very nice the positions that people place me in now. And Presley is being extremely complimentive to me. I'll maybe get to tell you later. I'll
Yeah.
tell you when I
Yeah.
see you. I'll tell you when I see you next month
Yes, I will.
about it. And Yeah, so I'm very excited for that one coming up. But I got a bunch of different things, basically. Not exactly every weekend, but right around anywhere from like 2 to 3 weekends a month
Amazing.
traveling, and it's great for me because I'm very present, so I don't really get like travel annoyed or anything
Yeah,
like that. And yeah, it's very nice getting to share my perspectives with people.
I love it. And it's at Ira Pope Sage.
Yes, yes, that's my IG or anything that I do social media
Yeah,
wise is my full given name, Ira Pope Sage.
I love it. You have a birthday coming up?
I do, and a real one. Yes, yes. February 29th is happening this year. So I get to turn 12. So I think that's why I don't have short man complex because I'm actually only 5'7", but I'm only a 12-year-old. So 5'7" for 12 is pretty tall still. So I feel pretty confident in my height and age.
Happy February 29th birthday coming up, Ira.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate it.
It was so great. It was so great to connect with you.
Always great talking with you. I still think about our all day sitting on the couch. That was one of my favorite days of last year.
It
So
what same.
yeah, I
What
love
a
you, friend.
gift. What a
It
gift.
really
I
was.
love
It
you
really was.
too. I love you too. So you can find Ira on the socials at Ira Pope Sage. Be sure to connect with him as he travels through the country this year. He's definitely one of those magical people you just have to meet. You have to be in his energy, in his presence. You will
Thank you.
be a more awesome human for it. Ira, thank you again. And to everyone, thank you for listening. Have a peaceful day. So grateful for you. Bye,
Grateful for you as well.
everybody.
See you later, everybody.